Today's June 7th, Thursday. It's about 11 p.m. I just got back from New Jersey at Brown's house. Had a little incident out there today. I got up this morning around 8 a.m. Got up and started making a cup of coffee because I noticed Ed had already made a pitcher of pot of coffee, but I didn't see Ed make it, or I didn't see Ed at all in the morning. I just got a cup of coffee and the dog wanted to go out to go to the bathroom. So I let the dog out about 8 o'clock this morning and started walking up Ed's driveway. And he's got a real long winding driveway through the woods. And as I walked along the driveway, I noticed that the dog kept stopping and sniffing into the woods. And I didn't think nothing of it at the time. But then I got to the end of the driveway, the very end where it meets the other road, and I looked straight into the woods. The land that the Supreme Court Justice owns there, next to Ed's, and I seen a guy in the woods moving around in a camouflage outfit, and I yelled to him, "What are you doing, turkey hunting?" Because there was people turkey hunting last time I was up there, and at that point the dog had come up alongside me, and I was standing right on the edge of the road and where the woods started, and the dog walked into the woods maybe 2 steps, and then all of a sudden a guy stood right up in front of me and with a full camouflage suit on and yelled, "Freeze." At that point I turned around and ran for my life, and at that point a round went downrange right by my head. I heard it whiz by me. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "Don't shoot me, don't shoot me, I'm unarmed." I started zigzagging a little bit. Another round whizzed right by me. I heard, a couple leaves got hit right next to me as I was running. So I could hear the rounds going, go by me downrange. So anyways, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "Don't kill me, don't shoot me, I'm unarmed, don't shoot me." And at that point, there was like 6 guys on each side of the driveway all popped up at the same time on each side of me in them full cami suits. I think they call them ghillie suits. They popped up. They all yelled, "Freeze, freeze, freeze, get down on the ground," as the other 2 guys were behind me that I was running from. And I just said, "You got me, you got me." And I put my hands out like this. I dropped my coffee cup on the ground and put my hands out like this to be cuffed, and they tasered me. They, stuck me with a 50,000 volt taser. And I was done after that. I was done. And then they took me away, and the US Marshals took me away. Their badges said Special Operations Unit. US Marshals Special Operations Unit is what it said on their shirts, on their uniforms. And then after that, they just took me down to the road and was asking me, who's in the house, how many guns they got, is there bombs, and just asking me all these questions. And pretty much they knew all the answers to most of them already. And then they said, okay, they took me back up there to the rendezvous point where they wanted to take me back up to Ed's to see if I could be like a negotiator to help talk him to come out. Like one guy said to me, "You're our Bo Greitz." That's what he said to me. And so I went up there, and as they drove me back, when we left, there was no roadblocks, there was nothing when we drove out of there. Okay, when we drove back an hour later, there was like 3 or 4 state trooper roadblocks with full M16s, all that. A helicopter had landed, there was ambulances. As I went further up back to Ed's, there was like 4 armored personnel carriers with like 30 guys all down the road just from Ed's, and that's where they pulled me in because I was handcuffed in a US SUV. And then after that, they were just there for a little while, still talking to me. Just one other guy were just in the car, just not really interrogating me, just talking about both BS fishing. It was not much at that point, and then they said plans have changed. We're going to take you to Lebanon Police Department. So then they took me to Lebanon Police Department, strip searched me, took my money in my belt, my wallet, my money in my belt, and then after that, they just questioned me for hours and hours, and then basic all the questions: who's there, what's the layout of the house, what guns do they have, stuff like that, and then, out of my surprise, they told me they were going to let me go. They said they were going to put me on a bus back to, Albany, New York. And I said, okay, I'll go with that. And they promised me that they told me not to talk to the press, that I'm looking at a lot of time in jail, and they told me never to go back to Ed and Elaine's. Don't give them any more support, or you're looking at 40 years in jail and all this stuff, and had me thinking twice. Then the plans changed again. They said, we're going to take you back to Ed and Elaine's, drop you off a mile down the road. We want you to go in there, they wanted me to tell Ed and Elaine that just 2 officers arrested me and that they were serving the seizure warrant on them. So I went down there and I was going to tell Ed that story when I walked back to the house, but they already knew everything. All the neighbors had called Ed. Ed said he got all these phone calls because Ed's phone wasn't cut to 9:30, and all this happened at 8:30. And everything rolled in probably at 8:45, I would say, guessing. But his phone, he said, wasn't cut to 9:30, and a bunch of people called him that all these armored personnel carriers and stuff were coming. So Ed pretty much knew the deal. And, Reno said, you're lying to me, that there was more than that, because we know there was armored personnel carriers, because we had people call, and then I told them what happened, because they pretty much already knew the deal anyways. And then there was another guy at the house at the time, another supporter, and at this time they parked all kinds of cars crisscrossing along the driveway, and as I walked down the driveway to go back to the place, the reporters were asking me questions, because at this time there was a bunch of reporters at the top of the driveway, and I told them I couldn't talk to them because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be arrested for talking to the press. The marshals just warned me about that. So when I went down to Ed's, to get my stuff and tell them that story that they wanted to tell me, but again, they already knew what really happened. So anyways, I gathered up my stuff, hung out for about an hour, and I had a re-rendezvous with the marshals to tell them, debrief me. And they wanted to know who's in the house now and that. And I just told them one guy left to go get some groceries for Ed and Elaine. And they asked me if I knew his name. And I told them I thought it was Bruce. And that was it. They said, who was the guy who left in the minivan? And I said, I think his name was Bruce, and I told him he was going to get groceries. So after that little rendezvous with them, they told me I was free to go. I left. I started driving back through Vermont. I had no cell phone power. But when my phone got power, it clicked back on and said I had messages. I listened to them, and it said, hey, Dan, this is Bruce. I'm at the police station. I've been arrested. I need you to call me on the number that pops up on my screen. And matter of fact, I still got that message on my cell phone. I saved it. And no number popped up on my screen, so I couldn't call him back. So Bruce got arrested. So I guess they're arresting all the supporters now. They don't want people bringing support, I guess, because he got arrested too. I don't know why he called me to tell me he got arrested. Because they seen him leave in the van. They just asked me who he was, and I told them all I know is I think his name was Bruce, and I think his actual name was Brian. I don't know, but that's my story. Now I'm back home in New York and just sweating this out. I don't know what's going to happen to me. They said they're not through with me, and I'm not out of the woods yet, is what they told me. So that's my testimony for today. I just wanted to get this on the record again. My left shoulder is where the taser, that's where it went in me right there. It was horrendous. But that's my testimony. That's pretty much what happened.